side and endure a soldier's life and face together a soldier's death. They are united in bonds almost as strong as the closest of blood ties.
Letters from the Vandus captured the prelude to the battle.
Voici 5 heures du matin, dans cet abîme de ténèbres. Les derniers ordres circulent. Le rhum, quoique dosé, est toujours le bienvenu. La ration est doublée.
Les gars, 22!
Le rhum a réveillé et enflammé nos soldats.
The Army Padre, Canon Scott, watched the battle unfold like a biblical drama.
The sky was overcast, but toward the east, the gray light of approaching dawn was beginning to appear. It was a thrilling moment. Human lives were at stake. The honor of our country was at stake.
Stephen Workman is pacing out the astonishingly short distance between the German and Canadian front lines. "45 steps. Workman is a Halifax physician who has become obsessed by the story of his great-uncle, Donald Ross. Ross's battalion is going to attack not from the safety of the tunnels, but exposed in no man's land.
He's a kid from the farm, 18 when he joined. I think he kind of knew what he was getting into, but he was a restless young man who wanted adventure.
The boys and I were only about 15 yards from the enemy line, so close you could practically hear them whisper. We made good targets for snipers, so we didn't move. Through the night, not moving, the cold just about froze us stiff.
I watched the luminous hands of my watch get nearer and nearer to the fateful moment, for the barrage was to open at 5:30. 5:27. In 3 minutes, the reign of death was to begin. In the awful silence around, it seemed as if nature were holding its breath. 5:29. God help our men. "5:30. With crisp, sharp reports, the iron throats of a battery nearby crashed forth their message of death to the Germans. And from 3,000 guns at that moment, the tempest of death swept through the air. It was a wonderful sound. Now and then our shells hit a German ammunition dump. And for a moment, the dull red light behind the clouds of smoke added to the grandeur of the scene. I knelt on the ground and prayed to the God of battles to guard our noble men in that awful line of death and destruction, and to give them victory.
line, practically frozen in place from being there all night. Donald Ross and the 87th Battalion await the whistle to attack. Ross is hit almost instantly. This is one place at Vimy where the Canadian plan does not go like clockwork. Though wounded badly in the leg, Donald Ross makes it to his objective, a trench that is supposed to be cleared of the enemy. It isn't.
They don't find Canadians on either side. They find German soldiers. He says an officer steps out from a dugout, draws his revolver and blows the brains out of the guys beside him, then shoots the fingers off the hand of the guy beside him. And he says at that point, he had 10 rounds in his clip, and then they were gone.
My rifle, which held 10 rounds, was soon emptied. We were too close quarters to reload. I had to use my bayonet, which soon broke, and then made a club of my rifle. We just killed them like pigs Easter Monday.
At the farm, he wasn't comfortable. They'd have to cut the heads off chickens. He didn't want to deal with that. You have a choice. You are going to die, or the person across from you is going to die. Most people, that's not a choice.
Don't worry. He's on his way, okay? You'll be fine, buddy. You'll make it. He's on his way, okay?
And he suffered there for about 2 hours, and he died. I can just imagine how intensely he is watching this man die and being completely helpless to do anything to save his life. And I guess I relate to that as a physician, to see someone die in front of you in your hands and to be powerless to save them is a very overwhelming experience.
When we went over the top at Vimy, we were 900. Coming back, we had 121 officers and men left. So you can imagine what it was like.
The Canadians paid dearly. 3,600 killed, 7,000 wounded. But the taking of Vimy Ridge on Easter Monday morning is a moment of great triumph.
My grandfather, when he described coming over Vimy, he looked out at the green fields of France and said that, for the first time in a long time, he saw the green beauty out in front of him. And then he looked back at the Canadian side and saw what they had just gone through and the slog of getting up to the top of Vimy.
Greg Clark was an officer from an Ontario regiment who stood here and he looked out over all of this and he said, north, south, all along the lines of the ridge, there were the Canadians. And for the first time, I felt a real sense of nationhood.
Suddenly, the British had to admit that using the Dominions was not just a good thing, it was vital to their war's success. They couldn't win this war without the Dominions, especially Canada. The Canadian Corps now became the standard of professionalism. It was the elite force. As a Corps, because of this outrageous success, which no one predicted, we felt good about ourselves and developed a sense of nationhood.